The bullies caught the new kid in a rear-naked choke and knocked him out. Big mistake. When he woke up, he took them all down. Adam Smith hunched in his chair in the back row of the classroom, trying to make himself as small as possible. Despite being 15, his tall, lanky frame and unruly brown hair made him stand out against his will. Being the new kid at Northwood High School was hard enough, and his thin, awkward build made him an easy target. The bell signaled the end of history class taught by Mr. Peterson. Adam slowly gathered his books, hoping the usual suspects would leave the room before he had to navigate the hallway. "Hey, Stringbean, waiting for everyone to leave so you don't snap in half in the hall?" The taunt came from David Miller, the self-proclaimed king of the sophomore class. Standing at 6 feet tall, with the muscular build of a wrestler, David had targeted Adam from day one. Behind him stood his two loyal goons, Jake Williams, almost as tall as David but leaner, and Tom Johnson, stocky and always eager to impress David with increasingly cruel behavior. "Just ignore them. 4 more classes and you're free for the weekend." Adam kept his eyes down, sliding the last notebook into his backpack. "I asked you a question, new kid." David's hand slammed down on Adam's desk, making him flinch. "Just getting my stuff." Adam mumbled, standing up and slinging his backpack over his shoulder. He tried to move past David, but Jake blocked his way. Mr. Peterson looked up from his desk. "Everything all right back there, gentlemen? You should be heading to your next class." David's smile was automatic and convincing. "Yes, sir, just helping the new kid find his way. We'll finish this conversation at lunch, Stringbean," he whispered, bumping Adam's shoulder as he passed. Adam watched them go, rubbing his shoulder. The bruises were starting to accumulate, but he never fought back. Not because he couldn't. In fact, Adam had spent 8 years training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and had earned his brown belt just before they moved. His father, a former MMA fighter and now an instructor, had trained him personally until they relocated for his mother's new job. But Adam had promised his parents he wouldn't fight at school. His father's career had ended after a severe concussion, and since then, both parents had been firm. Fighting was strictly for self-defense in life-threatening situations or controlled environments like tournaments. One fight at school could mean expulsion. And with his mother finally landing the administrative position at the hospital they'd moved for, Adam couldn't risk it. "It's not life-threatening if they're just pushing me around. I can handle it." The cafeteria at Northwood High School was a large open space with rows of rectangular tables. The social hierarchy was clearly defined by the seating arrangement. Athletes and popular kids occupied the center tables, while others clustered in their respective groups on the periphery. Adam had no group. He usually sat alone at the far end, near the emergency exit. Today, he kept his head down as he walked through the food line, selecting a sandwich, an apple, and a bottle of water. He paid quickly and turned to head to his usual spot. That's when he noticed David watching him, whispering something to Jake and Tom. He was only halfway to his table when he felt something hook his ankle. He stumbled, losing his balance, and his tray flew from his hands. The clatter of the tray hitting the floor instantly drew attention. Adam landed hard on his knees, his water bottle rolling away and his sandwich breaking apart on the floor. Laughter erupted around him. Looking back, he saw Tom's foot extended, pulling back under the table as he high-fived David. "Oops," Tom called out. "Looks like the Stringbean has trouble standing up." Adam's face burned as he tried to gather the scattered food. A few students snickered while others pretended not to notice. Nobody helped. Finally, one of the cafeteria monitors, Ms. Rodriguez, approached. "What happened here?" "I tripped," Adam said quietly. "Snitching would only make it worse." Miss Rodriguez sighed. "Be more careful next time." She walked away to deal with a dispute at another table. Adam threw his ruined lunch in the trash and headed to his usual spot, his appetite gone. He sat down and pulled out a book, pretending to read while his thoughts raced. Just a few more hours. Just get through today. Across the cafeteria, someone watched the scene with interest. Sophia Davis, a junior with straight dark hair and observant eyes, had noticed the pattern for weeks. As the afternoon bell rang, Adam hurried to his locker, hoping to get out before David and his crew could intercept him. He was shoving books into his backpack when a shadow fell across his locker door. "Leaving so soon, Stringbean?" David leaned against the neighboring locker, Jake and Tom accompanying him like bodyguards. "We thought maybe you'd want to hang out after school." The hallway was quickly emptying. A few students glanced their way but quickly walked past. Nobody wanted to be associated with David Miller's target. "Seriously." "Guys, I gotta go," Adam said, trying to move past them. Tom shoved him back against the lockers. "Where are you rushing off to?" "Got a hot date." "Oh, wait, who'd date a twig like you?" "Maybe he's running home to cry to mommy," suggested Jake, grabbing Adam's backpack and yanking on it. Adam held onto the strap, but David stepped in and twisted it out of his grip. "Let's see what the string bean has in here." He unzipped the backpack and started pulling out books, dropping them on the floor one by one. "Stop it," Adam said, his voice stronger now. He bent down to pick up the scattered items, but Tom pushed him. "Down, or what?" David challenged, holding Adam's math textbook above his head. "What are you going to do about it, new kid?" Adam rose slowly, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. For a moment, he considered striking, picturing exactly how he would take David down. He could visualize the precise sequence of moves, but he remembered his promise. Only in a life-threatening situation. "This isn't it yet. Just give me my stuff back," Adam said quietly. David seemed disappointed by Adam's restraint. He dropped the textbook, letting it hit the floor with a loud thud. "You're pathetic," he spat. "Come on, guys, the string bean isn't even worth our time." They walked away, leaving Adam to gather his scattered belongings. As he knelt on the floor, he noticed a pair of sneakers stop beside him. Looking up, he saw Sophia. "Those guys are jerks," she said simply, bending down to help him pick up his books. "Thanks," he managed. "I'm Sophia," she said, handing him his history notebook. "You know they're only picking on you because you don't fight back. They think you're an easy target." Adam slid the last book into his backpack. "I'm not gonna fight them." "Why not? You look like you could handle yourself if you wanted to." He stood up, slinging his backpack over his shoulder. "It's complicated." Sophia shrugged. "Well, if you ever want someone to sit with during study hall, I'm usually in the back corner. It'll be harder for them to bother you if you're not alone." The weekend passed too quickly. Adam spent Saturday at his father's small martial arts studio, helping with the kids' morning classes and training privately with his dad in the afternoon. On the mat, executing perfect takedowns and joint locks, Adam felt confident and in control. Everything he wasn't at school. "Your armbar is getting sloppy," his father, Mark Smith, commented as they sparred. "You're not extending fully." Adam adjusted his position and repeated the move, this time making sure his hips were properly elevated and his opponent's arm was fully extended before applying pressure. "Better," his father nodded, tapping out. As they reset, he studied his son's face. "Everything all right at the new school? You seem distracted today." Adam shrugged. "It's fine, just the usual new kid stuff." Mark Smith knew his son well enough to sense there was more, but he didn't. "Push. Remember what I've always taught you. Martial arts is about discipline and respect, not aggression." Adam finished the sentence. "I know, Dad." And his father raised an eyebrow. Adam sighed. "And we only use our training for self-defense when there's no other option." Mark nodded, satisfied. "That's right, but self-defense doesn't just mean when someone's throwing punches. Standing up for yourself can take many forms." By Monday morning, Adam had almost convinced himself things might get better. None of those hopes materialized. "Well, look who it is, String Bean," David called out as Adam walked through the main entrance. "Miss us over the weekend?" Adam kept walking, pretending not to hear. He made it all the way to the water fountain, before Jake stepped in front of him, blocking his path. "David's talking to you," Jake said, crossing his arms. "It's rude to ignore people." "Just trying to get to class," Adam said, attempting to step around Jake. Tom appeared beside him. "We were wondering, String Bean, you've been here, 3 months, and we still don't know if you can swim." A cold feeling settled in Adam's stomach. "What are you talking about?" "The third-floor bathrooms need cleaning," David said with a malicious grin. "And your head is just the right size for a toilet brush." Before Adam could react, Jake and Tom grabbed his arms. They were stronger than they looked, their grip on his biceps like a vice. David led the way as they half-dragged, half-shoved Adam towards the stairwell. "Let go of me," Adam struggled, but their combined strength overwhelmed him. Not life-threatening, he reminded himself as they pushed him up the stairs. Humiliating, but not dangerous. The third-floor bathroom was at the end of a less-used hallway. It was empty at this early hour. David pushed the door open, checking inside, before nodding to Jake and Tom. They shoved Adam inside, letting the door swing shut behind them. "Please don't do this," Adam said, his back against the row of sinks as the 3 boys advanced on him. "This is stupid." "No. What's stupid is thinking you can come to our school and not pay your dues," David said. "Every new kid gets initiated. Yours is overdue." They rushed him together. Adam managed to evade the first grab, sliding sideways as Tom's hands grabbed air. But Jake was quick, grabbing Adam's arm and twisting it behind his back in an amateur hold that was effective nonetheless due to Jake's superior strength. "Got him," Jake announced triumphantly. David approached slowly, cracking his knuckles. "Hold him tight. I think it's time the String Bean learned who runs this school." Adam's training kicked in instinctively. He shifted his weight, preparing to execute a hip throw, but before he could complete the move, Tom grabbed his other arm, and together they forced him towards one of the stalls. "Wait," Adam started to say, but David silenced him with a hard shove to the chest, sending him stumbling backward into the stall. His heel caught the edge of the toilet, and he lost his balance, sitting down hard on the closed lid. "Perfect," David grinned, nodding to his friends. "Hold him there." Jake and Tom tightened their grip on Adam's arms, pinning them to his sides. Adam felt his heart pounding in his chest as David reached for the flush handle. "First flush," David announced, pushing the lever. "The toilet," gurgled beneath Adam. "Gotta get his head wet to get a good scrub." Adam struggled harder now, realizing they were actually going to dunk his head in the toilet. This crossed a line. "Stop it," he yelled, hoping someone outside might hear. "Shut him up," David ordered. Tom clapped a hand over Adam's mouth while Jake maintained his grip on Adam's arms. David bent down to lift the toilet seat, but Adam wasn't going to let it happen. Not anymore. With a sudden burst of strength, fueled by anger and adrenaline, Adam snapped his head back, connecting solidly with Tom's nose. Tom yelped, releasing his grip on Adam's mouth to grab his face. "You little—" Tom started, blood seeping between his fingers. Adam used the momentary distraction to twist in Jake's loosened grip, preparing to break free, but before he could complete the move, David's fist slammed into his stomach. The air rushed out of Adam's lungs and he doubled over in pain. "Big mistake," David snarled, grabbing a handful of Adam's hair and yanking his head back. "You want to play rough? Fine, we can play rough." What happened next occurred so fast Adam barely had time to process it. David moved behind him, wrapping an arm around Adam's neck in a move Adam instantly recognized as an improperly applied rear-naked choke. In a tournament or training, Adam could have easily countered such a move. David's technique was sloppy, his arm not properly positioned on Adam's carotid arteries, but with Jake still pinning Adam's arms and Tom recovering from the headbutt, Adam couldn't execute the escape he knew would work. David tightened the hold, squeezing Adam's neck with brute force instead of proper technique. "Not so tough now, huh?" he hissed in his ear. Adam felt the pressure building in his head as his air supply was cut off. Black spots started dancing before his eyes. He thrashed and twisted, trying to break free, but David only tightened his grip. The black spots expanded, consuming his field of vision. The last thing Adam heard was Jake saying, "Dude, I think he's passing out," before darkness completely swallowed him. Adam wasn't sure how long he was out. When consciousness returned, he lay on the cold bathroom floor, his head throbbing and his throat burning. He blinked, the fluorescent lights overhead, sending needles of pain through his skull. Damn, he actually passed out. Tom's voice sounded distant, tinged with panic. What if he's seriously hurt? "He's fine." David's voice was less confident than his words. "He's waking up. We should get out of here," Jake urged. "If a teacher finds—" "Hout!" "Shut up," David snarled. "Nobody's gonna find out because the string bean isn't gonna say anything." "Right, Adam." It was the first time David had used his real name. Adam pushed himself up to a sitting position, his back against the toilet stall. The room spun for a moment, then steadied. He looked up at the three boys standing over him. Their expressions were a mix of lingering arrogance and new uncertainty. Something shifted in Adam. The darkness, the helplessness of being choked into unconsciousness had crossed a line he couldn't ignore. This wasn't just bullying anymore. This was assault. This was the life-threatening situation his parents had talked about. This ends now. With deliberate calm, Adam got to his feet. The three boys instinctively took a step back, surprised by his steady movement after what had just happened. "You choked me out," Adam said, his voice quiet but steady. "So you could have killed me." David quickly regained some swagger. "Don't be so dramatic. You were only out for a few seconds." "That's all it takes," Adam said, something in his tone making the others exchange glances. "A few seconds without oxygen? To the brain." He rotated his neck, feeling the tender spots where David's arm had pressed. "Whatever," David scoffed, though he seemed unnerved by Adam's calm. "Consider it a lesson." "There won't be a next time," Adam cut him off. He took a step forward, and surprisingly all three boys backed up another step. Jake forced a laugh. "Look at the string bean, acting tough after we just beat him up." Adam's eyes settled on Jake with an intensity that made the taller boys smirk falter. "You know," Adam said conversationally, "there's a right way and a wrong way to choke someone out." "What?" "What David did, that was the wrong way. It can cause permanent damage. The right way, he moved with sudden speed, closing the distance between himself and Jake before either of them could react. In one fluid motion, the product of thousands of hours of training, Adam executed a perfect takedown, driving his shoulder into Jake's stomach, grabbing both legs and lifting. Jake's feet left the ground and he crashed onto his back, with Adam maintaining control from the top position. The impact knocked the wind out of Jake. Before he could recover, Adam transitioned to the mount position, his knees pinning Jake's arms to the floor while stabilizing a technical control position. "What the—" Tom moved forward with David. "Back off," Adam warned, and something in his voice made them hesitate. To Jake, who was struggling beneath him, Adam said quietly, "I could have broken your arm, dislocated your shoulder, or properly choked you out, but I didn't, because I'm in control. That's the difference between us." Jake stopped struggling, his eyes wide with shock and a new emotion, fear. Adam got to his feet smoothly, releasing Jake, who scrambled back across the floor. Tom and David looked from Adam to their downed friend, recalculating the situation. "Who are you? Some kind of karate kid?" David asked, but his usual confidence was gone. "Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu," Adam corrected. "Brown belt. My dad was an MMA fighter. I've been training since I was 7. He rotated his shoulders, settling back into a relaxed but ready stance. "I could have fought back any time in the last 3 months. I chose not to." Tom helped Jake up. Both of them were now looking at Adam with reserve. Jake rubbed his back where it had hit the floor. "You're full of crap," he said, but there was no conviction in his voice. "Try me," Adam invited, his voice still calm. "But know this, I'm done being your punching bag. The next time either of you touches me, I won't hold back." David, unwilling to completely lose face, took a step forward. "You think just because you got one lucky shot?" Adam moved again, this time executing a perfect sweep that sent David stumbling sideways into the row of sinks. It wasn't a full takedown, just enough to show he could have done worse if he wanted to. "That wasn't a lucky shot," Adam said, as David regained his balance, his face flushing with anger and embarrassment. "And neither was this." Without warning, Adam launched into a combination of strikes and movements that didn't actually connect with any of them, but demonstrated undeniable skill, the kind that comes from years of dedicated training. His hands moved in precise patterns, his feet shifted with perfect balance, his body flowed through techniques that left no doubt about his capabilities. He finished, returning to a neutral stance, not even breathing hard. "I could do this all day," he said simply. The bathroom door opened then, and all 4 boys turned to see Mr. Thompson, the vice principal, standing in the doorway. His eyes narrowed as he assessed the scene, Jake still rubbing his back, Tom with dried blood under his nose, David flushed and unsteady, and Adam composed but clearly in the middle of a confrontation. "What's going on here, gentlemen?" Mr. Thompson demanded. There was a moment of tense silence. Adam met David's gaze steadily, a silent message passing between them. "Your move." "Nothing, sir," David said finally, his voice flat. "Just talking." Mr. Thompson didn't look convinced. "You should all be in class. The warning bell rang 3 minutes ago." "We're just leaving," Adam said, picking up his backpack from where it had fallen by the sinks. He walked towards the door, and the vice principal stepped aside to let him pass. At the last moment, Adam turned back to the 3 boys. "See you around," he said, the simple phrase carrying meaning only they understood. The rest of the day passed in a blur. News traveled fast, as it always does in high school. By lunchtime, the story had been transformed by multiple retellings. Some said Adam had knocked all 3 boys out. Others claimed he was some kind of underground fight club champion. As Adam walked into the cafeteria, he noticed a subtle shift. Students who had previously ignored him now watched him with curiosity. He got his lunch and headed for his usual isolated table, only to find Sophia already sitting there. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, approaching. "Go ahead," she said, sitting across from her. She studied him for a moment. "So the rumors are true, you took down David and his crew?" Adam shrugged. "Not exactly. I just showed them I could, and apparently that was enough." Sophia nodded, glancing across the cafeteria where David, Jake, and Tom sat at their usual table, noticeably subdued and occasionally casting wary glances Adam's way. "They've been terrorizing kids for 2 years. Nobody's ever stood up to them like that. They went too far," Adam said simply. He unconsciously rubbed his neck where David's arm had pressed. The rest of the week brought a new normal. David, Jake, and Tom gave Adam a wide berth, crossing the hallway when they saw him coming. Other students who had previously ignored him now nodded hello or even tried to strike up a conversation. After the final bell on Friday, Adam was gathering books from his locker when a familiar figure approached. David, alone this time, without his usual backup. Adam tensed automatically, but David held up his hands in a placating gesture. "I didn't come here to start anything," he said, his voice lacking its usual arrogance. "What do you want then?" Adam asked, wary but calm. David looked uncomfortable, shifting his weight. "Look, what happened in the bathroom? We went too far. That choke, that was messed up. I could have really hurt you." "You could have," Adam said simply. David nodded, still not meeting Adam's eyes. "Yeah, I know that now." He finally looked up. "Anyway, we're backing off, not just from you, from everyone." "Good," Adam said. After a moment, he added, "I was serious about knowing how to control myself. I've never used my training to hurt anyone outside of a tournament. I'm not planning on starting." "Yeah, let's hope it doesn't come to that," David said. He hesitated, then held out a hand. "No hard feelings?" Adam considered the outstretched hand, remembering all the humiliation and pain of the last 3 months. It would have been easy to reject the gesture, to hold on to the anger, but that wasn't who he wanted to be. He took David's hand and shook it once firmly. "Clean slate," he said. As David walked away, Adam felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He finished organizing his locker and headed for the exit, where he found Sophia waiting. "Was that David? Miller actually talking to you like a normal human being?" she asked, falling into step beside him. "Stranger things have happened," Adam replied with a slight smile. "Like the quiet new kid turning out to be a secret martial arts master." Sophia playfully nudged his arm. "Come on, a bunch of us are heading to that new ice cream place. You should join us." Adam hesitated. 3 months ago, or even a week ago, he would have automatically declined, retreating to the safety of home rather than risking social interaction. But things were different now. He was different. "Sure," he said, "I'd like that." As they walked out into the bright afternoon sun, Adam wondered how quickly everything had changed. The bullies who had made his life miserable now avoided him. The isolation he'd felt was starting to crack as new connections formed. And most importantly, he discovered that standing up for himself didn't mean becoming a bully. It meant finding a balance between strength and restraint, between defending himself and upholding his principles. His father had been right all along. Self-defense wasn't just about hitting back when someone threw punches. It was about knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone diminish it. It was about finding the courage to be yourself, even when that made you a target. And sometimes, it was about showing others exactly what you were capable of,